In today's video, I want to talk with you about using the approach of trauma-informed care in working with children and teens. Hi friends, my name is Quenby Gallahan. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. I've been a therapist here in the state of California where I live for over 15 years. And this channel, The Grateful Therapist, is all about counseling tips, mental health, and personal growth. So if you like learning about those things, please consider subscribing. I need to start by saying this is a massive topic. I've definitely bitten off more than I can chew here. However, in sifting through all the video requests from you all and the comments, it is my #1 most requested video. Quenby, how do you work with kids who have experienced trauma? I know I have a lot of newer therapists and counselors, people who are maybe still working under supervision, or you work with children in some capacity and you think this video might be helpful. You might also be a parent watching this video and your family's been through something traumatic and you want to find a therapist. So it's important to find a therapist or counselor who has some background in working with trauma. There are so many different therapies that you can explore further, like EMDR or cognitive behavioral trauma-based therapy. So you can dive into all of that. I thought I'd talk to you a little bit about how I personally work with kids and teens in my practice. So more anecdotal, more everyday things that might be more helpful to you in your practice. So what is trauma-informed care? Put simply, trauma-informed care is just taking an approach when working with clients that recognizes that they've been through something traumatic and that trauma is real and has lasting effects on the client. It acknowledges the role that trauma has played in the client's life. So you've probably got some background in trauma. You can research what happens neurologically, the neuroscience of trauma. So if you say you're doing trauma-informed care, you're essentially saying, hey, I understand how trauma affects people, and I'm going to work with them in my office in a way that is very sensitive to that. So how can we as clinicians have a trauma-informed care approach? How can we welcome these kids into our practices? Well, we need to educate ourselves about trauma and how it affects a child's brain, their behaviors, their body. And then we welcome them into our practice from that place, and we create an environment for them that feels safe and welcoming. So how do we do that? Well, we understand that their trauma is real and has had effects on their life, and we hold a space where they have some feeling of agency and control, where they can say what is okay with them and what's not, what they want to say and what they don't, that they can put the brakes on at any time, so they feel a sense of control and empowerment here in our presence. And we are a therapist or a counselor who believes that they can heal from this trauma, that they can process it and move through it in a healthy way, and we'll help them with that. And that they can also thrive, not just recover and survive, but to thrive. That they can come through this in a healthy way and still be the person that they want to be. And one of the ways we know that they do that is through our relationship, right? That we have an understanding that our relationship as the clinician with the child is important and crucial and will help them heal. So we're developing a relationship with them built on that, and we are sensitive and educated about their trauma, and we believe that they are good, that they are a good kid, and maybe they are acting out in certain ways, but it's not because there's something wrong with them or they're a bad kid. It is because they've developed these adaptive coping strategies to get through as a result of the trauma. But we remind them that they are lovable and worthy and wonderful kids, and because this thing has happened, maybe they're acting in ways that they didn't beforehand. and that we understand what that's about, and we're going to help them through that. We are going to give them an experience here in our office that is calming and healing, okay? That's not an exhaustive list. That's just some of the ways, right? I think sometimes as therapists, when we're working with kids, we become a bridge with their parents or caregivers, maybe their teachers or other people in their life. Sometimes children can be labeled as causing trouble or being difficult or not being able to pay attention. Sometimes kids can be blamed for certain behaviors that are really responses to trauma. So the more we understand about how trauma works with kids in their brains, in their bodies, in their behaviors and actions, we can help educate the people around them. So, for example, many kids who've been through a trauma can become anxious or hypervigilant. Hypervigilance is when you're acutely aware of everything around you. And as trauma-informed therapists, we can see this is a reaction to what has happened to them. This is not a kid with bad behavior. This is not a kid who needs discipline. This is a kid who needs help processing the trauma. This is a kid who needs our support and love, and they need tools. They need to learn how they can emotionally self-regulate. That's something as therapists that we can help them with. So now that we know, we've done our research, and we are an adult who can work with these kids with a trauma-informed care approach, what does that actually look like in session? It's many things, but one thing I want to stress is that therapy needs to be their safe space. Therapy needs to be a place where they feel calm and in control. And we can literally talk to kids about this. So I will make sure to talk to kids about the fact that they are in control of what they share, how much they share, when they share. And I'll literally give them the words. So I'll say, you can say, Quemby, at any time, hey, I need to take a pause, or hey, I need to put the brakes on. Kids who've been through trauma, they've been through something that they couldn't control. They had no control over the situation, or felt like they had no control in the moment when it was happening. So naturally they're going to be anxious and feel like many things are out of their control. So we can teach them that in therapy, they're the one in the driver's seat. They're the one in control. At any point you can say, oh, I'm feeling overwhelmed, or can I pass on that question, or I need to stop with this for now. That's one of the things we do with the trauma-informed care approach is we move slowly and gradually. And we don't dive in as the overambitious therapist on session 1, tell me everything that's happened to you. That is extremely overstimulating and overwhelmed to a child who's been through trauma. We teach them they're in control of what they say, how much they are allowed to say stop in here. They're allowed to say I need to slow down or I need to take a break, and I'll have them practice saying it. I do that a lot with kids and teens. I think we assume we'll say something like, hey, you can tell me to stop, but they haven't practiced saying that, so they don't actually know how to do it in the moment. I teach them how to actually say it. So, Quemby, I'm feeling overwhelmed, can I put the brakes on for a minute? Sure, let's do something else. Let's talk about something, let's get you in a different part of your brain. Like I said at the beginning of the video, there are many different modalities you can go learn. You can go learn EMDR, there's trauma, modalities. You can pick one and learn it, whichever makes sense for you. I took some courses in trauma-informed art therapy because I like to do a lot of art with kids. I'm not a registered art therapist, I just use art activities with kids and teens in my practice frequently. And art is a great way to give them a different experience when talking about or thinking about or processing their trauma. So let me detail that for you. What's something you could do if you have a client coming in next week? I have art supplies on my table. You can do it with all sorts of art, but one really great one is some watercolor paper and some watercolors. And what we are going to do is I might say something, give them a prompt like, you can paint whatever you want. Maybe something that feels calming to you. Maybe a memory of a place where you felt calm and relaxed, a beach or something. I stress to them, it can just be colors and shapes. You don't have to be a good artist. We're just moving our hands back and forth, And most kids, when they do that, feel pretty calm. They're painting, and they're with somebody who's been respectful to them, and they feel safe with. Hopefully we've built that relationship over time with them. And we give them a very different experience, which is we might invite them to talk about the trauma that happened. And they might start sharing a little bit of the story. And we move very slow with trauma-informed care, very slow, gradual, at their pace, on their terms, right? And they might say a little bit of what happened. Oh, I was on the couch and there was fighting and I was scared. So they're talking about it, but they're feeling more calm inside. Because normally when a child talks about the traumatic event, right, they feel reactivated, triggered, stressed, afraid. But not in this case in our office. In our office, they're just talking with me a little bit at a time, and they're painting and they feel calm inside. And that is one of the ways that we can heal and process and move through trauma. To get to a place where we can talk about it, and it's a memory and it's something that happened to us, but it doesn't define us, and we don't go into activation every time. We can do that with them in therapy by slowly, gradually, at their own pace, providing a calming experience while they talk about something that usually activates them, but in this case it doesn't. And we're watching, we're checking in. We might switch subjects, talk about something else. We might ask them, how are you feeling after sharing a little bit about what happened with the accident with your brother that day? And they'll be like, I'm okay. And that might be enough for the day. And next time they come back and we do a different activity, art activity, and they have the same thing. So that is one thing that we can do for them and provide for them that is going to change the way they have stored the trauma in their brain, in their memory, in their body. Okay? If you're doing these art activities and a child does become overstimulated, there's an opportunity right there for us to teach them some regulating skills. So they might be doing well, and then I'll look, and how are you feeling now? I'll be like, oh, my stomach, I feel a little something in my tummy. I'll be like, okay, let's take our hand and put it on the tummy. Let's breathe into there. Let's take a deep breath in and out. A few times you can feel your hand moving on your tummy. Do it a few times. Okay, how are you feeling now? It's like, okay, a little better. Okay, is there anywhere else you feel anything in your body or anything else? You know, I might say put your feet flat on the floor and ground your feet. Do you feel the floor beneath you? Yep. Do you feel the rug underneath your feet? Yes, I do. Okay, how about you feel yourself sitting in the chair? Yep. And so we can model and teach them those self-regulating calming skills, and they can use those at home when they're activated with their families, at school when they start feeling overwhelmed. So there's a great opportunity if things do come up right then and there to help them regulate. And I do want to stress, especially for my newer clinicians, don't rush it. I've been there as a newer clinician, and I will tell you, in my humble opinion, the most important thing is developing that relationship where there's some trust built up, some safety built up, and from there you can do a lot. But if you rush and you try and get in there and poke and prod and get them to open up too soon, you won't have the opportunity to use all your fancy interventions that we all have. You know, we've taken courses in this and that. In my opinion, developing that safe, comfortable relationship, and that takes a few sessions before you might even get into them being able to discuss what happened to them. And that's okay. And I inform the parents of that. Hey, parents always understand. I say, I want to help this child over the long term. I like to use a few sessions to get to know each other, to let them know that I'm a safe and trustworthy person, to build our relationship, because if you have that, you can do so much. So again, this is just a little intro, a little taste of some of the ways I work with children in my practice who've been through something traumatic. I welcome your questions. If you have questions specifically about anything, I could dive into that part a little bit more deeply. I hope that if you are watching this video, maybe you're newer, you haven't worked with this before, that you have some idea of something you can do in a session. Thank you for watching this video, And I welcome your questions, and I hope to see you again soon.